Today is like the first real test of this sleeping pattern because I woke up at 2 o'clock. I've just sorted out a video which is now on its way uploading, did all the description, replied to all the comments and all that good stuff. I've got loads of time to do videos nowadays. I feel like the thumbnails are nearly always going to be me in my dressing gown, so that's going to be a downside I guess, unless I actually get dressed at this time. Today is the first day where I'm actually like leaving the house. I'm actually going to work today, so I'm going to have to be going back to bed for a nap at about 5:45. So that I can get up and get ready and get in a shower and like my normal morning routines. But yeah, so we're going to see how that goes. I woke up relatively fine at 2 o'clock, so it's not like I didn't drag myself out of bed. But I am going to work for the next 2 hours and a bit, 2 and a bit hours. I'm going to work on activation. You know when you like sign up for an account and it sends you an activation email? I'm trying to generate that basically. And there's like a certain amount of encryption and whatnot that's got to go into it, which is the thing that I'm about to deal with. It's gonna be good fun. It dawned on me that I was starting to take my hoodie into work to try and keep warm in the office, you know, when it's like cooler and wet like it is today. I've got a jumper. And like I'm driving and I want to wear my jumper. God damn. All is going good. I've got like the end-to-end, like the codes there. I was getting the end-to-end running. I'm having a database configuration issue in the sense that Mongo, the way that Mongo treats GUIDs is a bit strange, and the framework that I'm using has a certain uses a certain representation for GUIDs, but I've set the default to be C#'s representation, so I need to have a play with that. I think I'm trying to use too much of it like out the box and just really like use this lol. I can like manually configure it all myself and it's not that hard, so I may end up having to do that, but I was getting up towards bedtime and I'm like, quick, I better go. I discovered what it is, what that feels so weird about having like naps like that, is it's very difficult to differentiate between what you're thinking about as you're falling asleep and like dreams. So you wake up thinking that you haven't been asleep basically. And then like once you've had a shower and you've like come to your senses a little bit, you're like, well, of course I wasn't thinking about driving a car in the back seat and struggling to turn the lights on in the dark, feeling like I've got no control. Why would I think about that? Why would I think about being in a meeting in a room that I've never been in before, with people I've never been in before? It must have been a dream. So you must have been asleep. God damn. Because that's kind of the reason why I keep lying in at the weekend, or why I was lying in, is because I'd wake up and I'd be like, have I actually been asleep? Should I actually just stay and have like another 20 minutes and then don't set an alarm and then fucked it really? I feel like having a sleep at lunchtime is an unrealistic goal. Either that or I'm just not tired enough. And I feel like, I've been looking up online, I feel like I should be struggling more than I am. Which could be because like the thing that I'm doing is designed for people who normally sleep 8 hours a night. I used to sleep 5 or 6. So I'm not struggling as much because I'm naturally used to having less. Theoretically, sleep less or nap less. The disadvantage of napping less means that missing one of the naps can be relatively like difficult. The advantage of having 3 is that if you miss one, then you like don't need them. You can just have a double one. You can just catch up that way. And obviously, that's my logic. My essential logic is I can run on that much sleep anyway. So I'm essentially getting better sleep now. Even though I'm sleeping less and having these weird sleep cycles, I'm getting better sleep. And I'm sleeping only just less than what I used to sleep anyway, and I was fine on. So therefore, I'm just not tired and don't nap. So I'm going to try and go down to 2 naps just before I normally wake up, and then when I get home, and we'll see. Basically, we'll see how that goes. I felt like I was kind of catching up. I spent a lot of the time recently kind of like on different branches and kind of merging things and stuff like that. So I was actually catching up with things today. We had a horrendous issue where literally like the ordering of 2 methods made it didn't work, and it's like security related stuff, so it's literally like black box. It's just like no, return false. You're like, what? Source code like legitimately has a try catch where it just swallows the exception and just returns false and won't tell you. So it was horrendous, and I literally only changed it's because the API changed basically, and originally it was all set up in one block and then you call the add method, but now it's split into 2 things, and I flipped the order in which I set up the 2 things and then called the method, and then it worked. I'm like, God damn it. They're always the most fun problems. The ones where you spend forever racking your head about it. It's what I hate most about like essentially like security related stuff or infrastructure related stuff. Is it's just a black box. Like there's no feedback, there's no trace routes, there's nothing. It just doesn't work. And I don't like that kind of stuff. I find it very frustrating. But I did manage to find it, so that's good. Otherwise, standard Monday when shopping and whatnot. Do your shopping on a Monday. I had a very quick nap before Laura came home, and then we just went out and whatnot. I think that's going to be the way. On Wednesday I might struggle to get that nap in, depending when I might be going to the cinema. It depends what time we're going to go. It's good fun. It's trying to figure out how to fit it in to like real life. It's worth doing, but it's just trying to figure it out how to fit it in. But like I say, I feel like I should be more sleep deprived at the moment than I should. Like I'm reading things online, and they're like, yeah, the first like 3 days are horrendous. I'm like, well, hey. It's 10:30, it's my earlier bedtime. That's what I do now. I remember me saying yesterday that I'd hit a problem where the IDs in Mongo database were wrong. Using the framework I'm using. I'm using a NuGet package to kind of manage ASP.NET identity within MongoDB. I think I was saying this to you, probably. The problem was that it uses the wrong representation for the ID and it's impossible to overwrite it. So I was extending it and adding like a user ID as like a separate thing, even though it thinks that the ID is the user ID. So I'm trying to like essentially like hack it in over the top, and I'm like, there's got to be a way. So I'm diving around NuGet packages, and like MongoDB, ASP.NET NuGet packages are a mess. There's like one good one for DocumentDB, but not Mongo. Diving around, I'm trying to figure out like how things are being configured. I realised I've got to do it a little bit more manually. Then realise that it's not giving me enough customization. So I've spent the rest of the morning, diving around different NuGet packages, trying to find one that was a little bit more, because that one's the most mature. It's the one that most people seem to use. Like it's got the most amount of downloads on NuGet. The problem with it is that it doesn't give like it was. Do you remember me saying when I first put it in? It's really easy to set up. It's literally like one line, bam, there you go, you're in. Everything else is configured. One line, pass it the link to the What's My Jake Happy Birthday. Problem is that like you can't actually set any settings on it. So it's a bit of a shit fest really. But I found one that looks a lot better. It allows me to pass in like define what type I want my ID to be, which is good. So it seems to be the solution. It's not got many users, and it's actually in pre-release as well. But it's like they've only released one version of it, and so we're going to see how that is really. But it's 5:30, so I haven't got time to carry on investigating this NuGet package. I'm going to use DocumentDB for this, but hosting MongoDB is a lot running MongoDB is a lot easier locally than it is on the server. And Azure, it doesn't matter. But DocumentDB is a little bit. MongoDB is a lot easier to run locally, and running it on the server is relatively expensive. So, but yeah, so we'll get there. It feels like I've not got very far. I've actually got it saved. I've got stuff saved in the database. I've got users registered. They just don't like this. They're with my hacky user ID thing, which isn't going to work. Especially because I can't customise half of it enough to. I was essentially getting to the point where I was going to end up overriding half of their classes, and I may as well have just friggin' written the NuGet package myself. Panicked there because one of the roads up there is just like covered in Christmas decorations, and I'm like, come on, it's not even November, come on now. It looks like they're just filming something like on a massive scale, because like I got further down the road and there's just like a shitload of like camera crew and equipment and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty friggin' big budget, the amount of bloody decorations they've put up, blimey. It's the end of the sprint today, and I need to make a tactical decision based on whereabouts the other team is, basically, on whether or not we go and try and push this story through, or, you see, I started to import something from the next story, which we don't technically need for this story, but it makes sense to add it in, because we might forget it or whatever. Then found out that we'd used like the wrong API because of ASP.NET identity stuff. We want the entity core identity user, not the non-identity core one. and we just like control-dotted a user and it put in the normal one, and that's fucked us royally. Options are deploy without it. Basically you can do everything but log in, but that means obviously we're going to have to wipe down the database of everyone that we do during testing. So if like test is free, if the test environment's free, then I might push it through, and then we fix it in the next story, which is when we would have fixed it anyway. But if not, then we'll do it properly, I guess. So it's the end of the sprint today. I really wanted this story done. I wanted this story and the next story done, but we had too many hold-ups. So we missed it, unfortunately. But what can you do? It's life, innit? Definitely a little bit ambitious trying to get all 3 stories in this sprint, but we tried our best. Definitely able to nap in the morning and in the evening when I am doing this sleep cycle thing. Napping at lunchtime is difficult to do, but I don't know whether I'm doing it properly if I am doing morning and evening, and whether I maybe need another one or not. Otherwise though, I've come back, I've had a nap, I've just started cooking dinner. Laura's not even back yet, so it's going crazy. I am just knocking together a nice curry, and then we're going to have that later. Hoofed. Ladies and gentlemen, I struggled to get to, well no, I struggled to stay awake last night, and I struggled to wake up this morning. It's 2 o'clock, 2:30. I snoozed, but didn't snooze, you know what I mean? I just dragged myself out of bed now. You know what, when you feel like your dreams are conspiring against you? Because I remember dreaming, you know, like when your dreams try and think of a rational decision to go back to sleep. You know what I mean? A massively productive programming session either. I'm like setting up, well, I mean it was, but it doesn't feel like it because I feel like I've just thrown a grenade into my configuration. Just let it explode and configure all of the settings and whatnot and figure out where it should go, and then I realised it was getting a bit messy, so I thought, you know what, I'll go through it with a fine tooth comb, tidy it up, and now I'm balls deep. So to pick up some train tickets today for Laura, and I could go at lunch, but instead I was ready early, so I came in early, on a bus earlier than I normally do, so that I can go to the train station to pick them up. I went to the cinema tonight, so I don't think I'm going to have time to have a nap in the evening, and therefore I think I'm going to have to try and get a nap at lunch, so I'm trying to make myself some time. If I'm tired, then I'll go for it. What I think has basically been happening is, obviously quite naturally accustomed to running on quite a little sleep, and I'm able to run on minimal sleep for like 3 or 4 days before I start to burn out. And essentially what I think's happened is, I've not been napping properly, and I've just been sleeping like kind of like normal, and I've reached the end of that burnout phase. Now I feel like I'm at the stage that I've read about where you feel like really fatigued and you just have to fight through it. Essentially what I need to do is train my body to be able to nap. It's something that, like I said, I've never napped. I'm not a napper. I don't understand how someone could be like, oh, I'm just going to have a nap in the afternoon. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm always the kind of person who has to go to bed when I'm tired. So this is me. I'm at the stage now where my body is susceptible to being trained to nap. Hopefully by Monday next week I'll be able to do the napping thing much better. And then I'll be able to have like an efficient 2 naps, or maybe even an efficient 3rd nap as well. Preferably an efficient 3rd. Otherwise today I'm not going to be able to have a nap until, well, I'm not going to be able to have a nap until I have deep sleep and my core sleep tonight. If I don't go at lunch. So, and how tired I was yesterday while I was watching TV is probably not a good sign, so I should try my best. Like I say, I'm still trying to run on less sleep than I want to run on, so that I can force myself into it, and then over the weekend I'll be able to transition better, I think, because I've got complete control of my time. I've been kept off my laptop and my work bag, and I've just been going to the train station now. I needed a wee, that's the real reason. To wrap this up, because I need to go to bed, I haven't slept since this morning, so in the past 24 hours I've had less than the right amount of sleep. The day that the fatigue hits, I don't get my evening or afternoon nap. So we went to the cinema though. Today we had like a friggin' great day with planning. One of those days where we were like, this task is scary. We're scared of this task. We're going to log loads of time to it. We literally log like 25 hours to the task alone, and it's backed up by 2 investigation tasks. We start the investigation and we're like, it's gonna be fucking easy, boy. We thought we were gonna have like some crazy like view model, kind of like knockout style widget, and yeah, everyone else has already done this before, mate. It's just basic JavaScript. Literally, just create this thing and just whack it in. It's gonna be dope. So yeah, anyway, I thought that was funny. So we had to race home because we were going to the cinema. We were supposed to be watching a film at 7:20. I get back here normally at 6, which is why that sleep didn't work out. We had dinner and then headed on out. We left here at 7:20 because of... but it's weird because Laura and Beth went to netball in our car, and then Ben drove here to pick me up in his car, and then we went to the cinema. We went to see It, the Stephen King clown, Pennywise the Clown horror film. And it was kind of a thing where I mentioned it when we were on holiday to Laura as a joke, knowing she wouldn't want to go. And then she's like, "Well, you invite Ben?" I was like, "Yeah." Invited Ben, fully expecting him to say no. And he said yeah, and it turns out he the same, was like, "Oh shit, I didn't really want to say yeah." But we both went, we watched it, and it was a fucking masterpiece. Like, I would recommend anyone go and watch that, even if you're not a fan of horror films. Like, the last horror film I watched was probably a Saw, and Saw isn't really horror. I'm far from a horror film junkie, but it was so good. It was just so good. It's the kind of horror film where there aren't jump scares. Like, they don't need to. It's just like, it just shows you everything, and you watch it and you're like, it's gonna start, and it starts, and you're on the ride, and then it's the kind of thing where it's not so scary you can't watch, or you're like constantly waiting for the jump scare, but you just like feel yourself being glued in to watching some like fucking traumatizing shit. And like, no, it's not that traumatizing, but genuinely 100%, if you like horror films, then go. It's probably the best, like, it's got to be one of the best horror films ever made, because it's all about this. It's a thriller. It's not a horror. It's a psychological thriller. It's fucking dope. I cannot recommend it more. I say, even if you don't like horror, just try your best. Give it a try, and just watch it. Just try not to look away. Try not to like amp it up for more than it is. It's fucking brilliant. It's only at 15. It's not that bad. But yeah, it's just so good, and the story is so good, and the characters are so good. I genuinely never left a film before. Well, no, I have left films before going, that was a really good film, but I wasn't expecting that. I heard it was good, but I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I was expecting it to just be like a jumpy horror, and it wasn't. So, fully recommended. Anyway, it's gone 11. I'm supposed to be sleeping between 11 and 2. I'm still going to try and wake up at 2, because I need to bully my body clock into being able to nap. That's the most important part. No matter how tired I am, I still need to be able to nap. So I've calmed down. I came back, calmed down, had a cup of tea, and I'm going to bed now. It was very naughty last night, and I slept. I don't remember my alarm going off. So I've got to kind of bully my way back into it again. It's bad. When I don't get my nap in the afternoon, you're basically like signing your life away. And then I went to bed later than I normally do as well. But either way, we'll get back on track, boys. It's the problem with going for like this style rather than the Uberman style. The Uberman style is like 20-minute nap every 3 hours or something. And the problem with that is you're like death for a week, and then you're fine, you're into it. The problem with my style is it's still quite close to the old style of sleeping all night, which means it takes longer to transition into it kind of like on a permanent basis, which means you have to be vigilant while you're doing it, and I'm cocked up. So I'm going to try and have a nap when I get home tonight, but otherwise jump back into it and not quite start again, but try our best. So anyway, Thursday today. We started the sprint yesterday, we've done a load of planning, and we've got to just jump into it. We missed our sprint goal last time. I think we're going to do deployments though, which is good. Hit the ground running, but I think there's at least a little bit of like parallelism that we can do here. To bed on time today so that we can actually get up and do our normal shizness. Deployment day today, which is always a little bit of good fun. It's always a like relatively unproductive day, but we spent quite a bit of time just like fine-tuning that and then dealing with bugs that come out of it. I stayed late trying to fix an issue with the user that was running, which deployment always seems to just fuck me. Deployed once, fine, and then like a couple of hours later with the thing, deployed again, and the like user couldn't start the service. But like nothing, like all I can imagine is that user's been it's lost permissions for some reason. But no, because nothing changed. Nothing changed in that respect. It's between the two deployments, except for a couple of hours passed. I tried my best to diagnose it, but I couldn't. And by the time that I figured out that it was basically the user, and it wasn't the password being incorrect, no one else was around to like check permissions for me or anything. So there's that one. Otherwise, came back here, sorted out dinner and whatnot. I feel like I had something to report, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember, but I'm getting the video now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start it again tomorrow. We're going to have a long weekend. A very long weekend. It's going to be great. Yeah, lots of work though. Whew. I'm going to sort this video out in the night time and do some configurations work. I need to. And I'm going to go to bed now. So, right. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how long this video is. Hopefully it's long enough. Hopefully it's not too long. I'll catch you later.